Thanks so much for being a part of our study today. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 7, and yesterday we tried to talk about why Deuteronomy is so important to us. There's some great passages here that are fundamental. This is not just a history lesson or a nice little Bible study. These are things that we can take and apply to our lives, and this is certainly one. Verse 12, if you heed these ordinances by diligently observing them, the Lord your God will maintain you with you the covenant loyalty that he swore to your ancestors. He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will bless the fruit of your womb, the fruit of your ground, your grain, your wine, your oil, the increase of your cattle, the issue of your flock, the land that he swore to your ancestors. You shall be the most blessed peoples, with neither sterility nor barrenness among you. The Lord will turn away from you every illness, all dread diseases of Egypt that you experienced. He will not inflict on you, but he will lay them on those who hate you. You'll devour the people that the Lord your God has given you, showing them no pity. You'll not serve their gods. They'll be a snare to you. Let's stop for a moment. And I maybe read a little too far to make the point, but there is a true blessing for walking in God's pathway. How would you respond to the blessing that's outlined here, Rudy?
Well, we can't really make this about a nation. We can't really make it even really about our family. It actually has a very personal understanding in my world of thought as far as this is concerned. And in a few verses earlier in Deuteronomy, basically God said that the faithful who know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenants and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. A generation in the Bible is basically 40 years. So if you were to do the math here, we're talking about 40,000 years. From today back to Adam is 6,000 years. So we're nowhere close to the perimeters that God made of 1,000 generations. How does that help us? It seems as though he is tarrying and not coming back, and therefore we have to take the reins. But the fact is that prophecy is prophecy. And even Ezekiel, who was 2,500 years ago, God gave him a prophecy that Israel would come back together, of which it had been divided 500 years earlier than that, and it never did come back together for 2,500 years, of which we see today in 1948. So when God makes a promise, it's not necessarily happening in your lifetime, but you're included in the outcome of the promise. That's why when we look around today, and it doesn't seem as though he's doing all of these things for us, yet when we have him in our heart and we're thankful and we remember what he's done, he is working in our lives, and we are able to have a life that is not just downtrodden because of the circumstances that surround us. We have joy because we know the creator of the universe, and we know that this earth is not it. The outcome of what will be later in the new heavens and new Jerusalem is our hope. Faith, hope, love. That triplet, it just doesn't work without having a base. And the remembrance is really paramount here.
Keep going back to the idea of remembering. Here's how I would respond to these verses. I have some friends who take these very literally. If I live a certain life, I'm not going to get sick, I'm going to prosper. And some of the, and I don't know enough about the prosperity gospel preachers to to say this with great certainty, but it seems that some of the prosperity gospel comes out of passages like this. Live a certain way, God's going to bless you. I would respond to that by saying God is not a vending machine.
Right.
You don't put in what you want, pull the right knob, and get out what you want to get. Okay? It is wrong to make God into a vending machine. Now, to correct me, let me say, there are principles here that are abiding. There is a life that can be lived to the full. May not be health and wealth and all of that sort of stuff, but there's a life to be lived to the full as we walk in hand following God's commandments. And He has promised blessing. It may not look like the world's blessing. I don't think any of the disciples who followed Jesus all the way to martyrdom were claiming health and wealth on the way to, whatever. To execution. But they still had the best life possible because God was giving to them. A couple of days ago I talked about syncretism, and that is the blending of the one religion with the true religion. And when we blend our view of life, American life, with our view of God, we can come up with health and wealth and prosperity. We need to let the scriptures speak to us and then begin following them.
Well, I really don't know how to follow that statement up. It was so true. We just have to follow it. Later on in Deuteronomy, the Lord tells all of the people of Israel that when He picks a place, which ultimately was Jerusalem, that but it was wherever the tabernacle was up until Solomon built the temple. So that when the tithing of the third year all went to the Levites. And that was to take care of the orphans and the widows and the aliens over a 3-year period, because they got the tithing of the first fruits. And the tithing of the first fruits is on the anniversary of the assembly in Sinai, when the 10 Commandments were given, which is a Jewish holiday called Shavuot, a Christian holiday called Pentecost. But they were to remember and individually do a proclamation as they set their first fruits down. If we had a practice of living once a year of being that thankful, we have a American holiday Thanksgiving, but we don't pull it forward every day into our lives. And I'm of the mind that I believe that Thanksgiving is ultimately the key to having the kind of Jesus kind of life that you're talking about. You have to know who did it for you, because in the end, God did it. When we talk about the blood of the Lamb and your testimonies, our testimony ultimately, if we were to get it down into one sentence, would be God did it.
You got it. Amen. And let's end on that. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow for more. You have a great day.